What's up, everybody? We are back once again with some more NFL DFS picks and lineup advice. This time for the single game showdown slate, wild card Monday Night Football, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Philadelphia Eagles, FanDuel and DraftKings. Lineup advice, tips, strategies for tonight's game. Welcome, I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, single game $1 million winner. Now, this game will solely focus on tonight's Monday Night Football matchup. I know there is another game today, the Steelers and the Bills. That is at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. However, we covered that game yesterday in our video, so make sure you go back and watch that live Q&A if you have time today to get insight into that game if you need it. Our daily plug at occupyfantasy.com also covers this game today, the 4:30 p.m. Eastern game, and then we'll have another Monday night specific showdown only plug that is coming Monday afternoon. So all the content you need for today's games at occupyfantasy.com. So what you see on screen here is a screenshot from yesterday. This was the early Green Bay and Dallas showdown slate for me. Another 5K win after the 15K win on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. Now, this was part of a group of smaller field lineups that I built, and I know what you may be saying. You see the number of entries here, 14. Brian, I could beat 14 entries. That's not impressive. Play it then. That is our entire focus here at Occupy Fantasy, is playing contests that you can win. So if you see me playing and winning a 14-man contest, you also should be playing and winning 14-man contests. Yes, this was a $777 entry fee, a little over 6 times return. You would love a 6 times return. Instead of trying to get in the top 0.5% to get 6 times your return in a large field GPP, play a sub 20 player contest and see how it goes. So let's instead focus now on tonight's game, Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. And what we're going to do here, talk about the injuries that impact the slate, low risk lineup construction tips, and strategies for high risk contests on DraftKings, leagues, GPPs, and satellites. So let's go to tonight's game. Tampa Bay fully healthy for tonight's game. So you love to see that if you're a Buccaneers fan coming into the game. Philadelphia, meanwhile, A.J. Brown is out. He will not play, so it's Devonta Smith leading the way at receiver for Philadelphia. And so really, if you look at A.J. Brown being out, and you could look at injuries to star players one of two ways. The first is, who is the direct backup that jumps in and benefits? And two, which other players that have a normal role get a higher elevated role in that offense? So Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, immediately their floors and ceilings are boosted without A.J. Brown. And then what the field is expecting is Julio Jones to be the direct backup to A.J. Brown. He's going to be $3,800 on DraftKings. We expect him to be over 20% owned in all contest types. And yes, he had the big game, what was it, a couple weeks ago, had the 2 touchdown catches against Arizona in week 17. However, if you just listen to what the coaches are saying, and this goes the same with, if you go back to this game yesterday, no one really played Luke Musgrave. Tucker Kraft was projected for more points, but if you listen to the coaches, they said Musgrave's going back to at least a ramped up role or close to his normal role, despite what projections weren't listening to. And if you just listen to what the coaches are saying and the team is saying about this game, they've already said that Julio, at his age, they're not giving him an advanced role. They're going to stick his role the same, try to keep him fresh throughout the stretch run. Instead, it's Quez Watkins. It was Jalen Hurts who texted Quez Watkins once A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were injured and said, you're going to have to step up. Step up he did. Yes, they lost by a lot of points to the Giants in Week 18. But he put up 8 for 93 and a touchdown. And we expect Quez Watkins to probably hover around that 20% mark, but people are going to prefer Julio Jones over Quez Watkins. But it's clear that Quez is going to play more, and Quez is the clear play with A.J. Brown's absence. So just another angle and edge that we get tonight. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, Philadelphia will be without their safety, Sidney Brown, tore his ACL. That is a big loss in their secondary. And Reed Blankenship, their other safety, is questionable. Did not practice all week. They say he's a game-time decision. With 3 straight did not practices, you would have to expect that he doesn't play. Either way, he's banged up. So 2 secondaries out or injured for Philadelphia. That just boosts the Tampa Bay passing game even more. And we'll talk about that even further when we get to the high-risk section in a little bit. Let's turn our attention to low-risk contests now. 50-50s, double-ups, head-to-heads. Just have to beat half the field to double your money. Essentially, when we're looking at building lineups for this contest, this also gives us a core of players to build our high-risk contests around. So If you read our Showdown guide on the site, the link is in the description. You know we like to either lock up all the scoring by playing both quarterbacks, both running backs, and or playing the obvious values on the slate, especially on DraftKings. So if we try to do this tonight, right? We play Hurts, we play Rashad White, we play Baker Mayfield. He does have the questionable tag, but he's fully expected to play. Don't worry about that. DeAndre Swift, 2,700 left per player. Not great because once you get past Quez and Trey Palmer even, it drops off really quickly in terms of how involved we expect these guys to get. I think a lot of top pros will jam in one more player and play a $200 player and hope they get a point or two. I'm not sure that's the way to go tonight. Instead, we have to get a little creative if we're going to play low risk contest, because by playing this, we're also missing out on Devonta Smith elevated role and Dallas Goedert elevated role. What I think we'll see some people do, and what a lot of optimal lineups will look at, is playing Goddard at the captain spot. Hurts, White, Mayfield, Swift, 1,600 still. You still can't really fit in, right, a guy down here. So it makes it really tricky for low-risk contests tonight. Now, you could do this, but this is riskier, right? Because while we assume Quez Watkins will see an expanded role, it's not fully guaranteed. You could captain him, and now you can fit in a lot more players. I'm not sure that's the way to go. It makes low-risk contests really tricky tonight and a contest type that we would avoid. But those are the guys that you're looking at playing tonight. It's Hurts as far as your core of your lineups. And as you build large field GPP lineups, small field GPP lineups, you're going to have 3, 4, 5 of these guys as your core. So Hurts, Rashad White, Mayfield, Devonta Smith, DeAndre Swift, Dallas Goedert, Quez Watkins, and maybe a kicker or defense here and there. So those are your core guys, but it's hard to configure those core plays into a solid, safe, low-risk lineup. And the same goes for FanDuel as well. Excuse me. Same goes for FanDuel. So if we try to fit in both quarterbacks, both running backs, we know usually that this is not going to work, right? 3,000 left per player. That obviously does not work on FanDuel. You have to leave out one of Baker Mayfield, Rashad White. I lean towards leaving out Rashad White, but again, that doesn't feel great as a workhorse running back. You also probably have to leave out DeAndre Swift, who again doesn't get the goal line work as we've seen seemingly every single week. But then you can fit in guys like Quez, Dallas Goedert. This is the way to go, but it's still not great, right? Because then you're playing Godwin. You can almost get up to Swift. There's just no real configuration that feels safe in low-risk lineups. So I think tonight, especially as we transition to high-risk lineups here in a second, it's a great night for high-risk. It is a really bad night for low-risk. So I would limit my allocation tonight, stick to mostly high-risk contests, take some shots, and if those shots pay off, we'll hit big. And if not, we only spent a little bit of our bankroll, and we'll move on to the next slate. So let's talk about those high-risk contests. Now, these are GPPs, large field or small field, satellites, leagues, exponential payouts. We get a lot of questions. What are high-risk contests, right? Think a small subset of the field gets paid, and the payouts are exponential as you get higher in the contest. Those are high-risk contests. You have to take on some risk to get some reward. So let's go back to DraftKings. And the number one player that sticks out to me, if you watched yesterday's live Q&A video with me and Jack, we talked about Mike Evans being our favorite low-owned play on the board on the 3-gamer and 4-gamer, and he's going to be lower owned tonight than he should be because he's going to project, as far as industry projections go, lower than Jalen Hurts, lower than Rashad White, lower than Baker Mayfield, yet he's sandwiched in between them and he'll go overlooked. We expect his captain percent, his ownership to be relatively low, his overall ownership to be relatively low, and two subjective factors, right? We have the banged up secondary for Philly with Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship. Two, their offensive coordinator literally said before this week, we need to focus on getting Mike Evans the ball in the playoffs. He makes our offense rhyme. So it's not even a squeaky wheel, right? Because he's an all-pro. But they want to get Evans the ball, and he's facing a banged-up secondary. A defense that is already terrible anyways, especially in the pass game. And we get him at lower ownership than we should. It's an absolute no-brainer to me. Build your high-risk lineups tonight around Mike Evans, especially at the captain spot. I love that. We talk about underperforming wide receivers during the regular season. That list obviously shrinks as we get less teams in the playoffs. One that may stand out, and you may not even know his name if you don't follow the Buccaneers closely, is Trey Palmer. They're number 3 receiver. If I can find him, he is $2,800. His expected fantasy points based on his volume, where and how long his passes have been on the field, don't match his actual production. So when that happens, we generally see blow-up games. Now, again, for a number 3 receiver, that is pretty rare to see them on this list. And it's not like he's going to get heavy volume, but 5 to 6 targets at his price tag will be really nice. And if he overperforms, as what generally happens after guys underperform, then he could be the key to winning high-risk lineups tonight. So we like Trey Palmer as a salary saver, underperforming wide receiver. Rare combo that we say for these Showdown videos. All right, next, let me pull up my list here, see what else we need to talk about. The field is going to build Philadelphia heavy, right? Because it's no secret with A.J. Brown out that Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert get a boost. So we're going to see those guys extremely popular. Hurts, obviously, Quez, Julio Jones, those guys. And the field is going to build 4-2 lineups on DraftKings, 5-1 even in some instances in favor of Philadelphia players, 3-2 think on FanDuel. So if you don't like the low-owned plays, you don't like some of the other options I've talked about, an easy way to get leverage is to build balanced or more Buccaneers-heavy lineups, so more Buccaneers lineups than Eagles in your lineup. Now, again, we get questions like this all the time, and it's like, I want to force it in. You don't have to force that in, right? It's just another angle to play. If you're building a lineup and it looks kind of chalky already, maybe swap one of your Eagles for a Buccaneers player, and automatically you have reduced ownership just based on the lineup construction. And again, not something you have to do, just an angle that you can consider playing for tonight's game. And finally, let's talk about some of these lower price players after the kickers and defenses, salary savers, that again, it's really thin tonight, but maybe they help you if you're building 20-plus lineups. So we've talked about the Julio Jones, Quez Watkins split. We've talked about Trey Palmer. Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be their number 4 receiver, and we can expect some targets, I think, as the number 4 in this offense. It's not like Quez will have an every down role. We know Julio won't have an every down role. Zaccheaus will play. I would be shocked if he doesn't run 10-plus routes. So at 2K, you can certainly do worse than Zaccheaus in especially large field, high-risk contests. Boston Scott, the number 3 running back tonight, more than likely we expect Rashad Penny to be inactive, was just active last week in Week 18 when the game didn't matter too much. David Moore, I think we'll get some ownership at $800 because of the one long touchdown he had against Green Bay. But he's running less than 10 routes. And Trey Palmer is the number 3, and his routes might be reduced even more because Raheem Jarrett is back, and I think he'll be the most popular punt play in that low-risk lineup build I discussed earlier. Raheem Jarrett, he's back after a long absence, hasn't played since Week 11, but he'll run 5 to 10 routes, some downfield, and again, his most likely outcome is a 0, but if he gets a catch or 2, it helps your low-risk lineup. It could help high-risk lineups as well, depending on the rest of the build. And in low-risk lineups, even if he scores a 0, you can still win. We see, especially when you're playing those 14-man contests like I am, 20-man, 30-mans, even 100-mans, if you get a 0 and you get the other 5 pieces right, you can certainly win a contest that way. The problem is you need all 5 pieces to score extremely well or meet value, and that rarely happens in a game. So Raheem Jarrett, again, a guy that's going to see a couple routes tonight, maybe a deep ball or 2. He is back tonight. Anybody else? Jack Stoll, number 2 tight end, not going to see a target probably. I mean, it's really bad down here. Calcaterra, same. O'Keefe, like this. Devin Tompkins might see a target. Again, you really want to build more above the 3K range. $2,800 and higher with Trey Palmer. If you want to go down to Zaccheaus, I can see that as well. But this is really not a slate where we see a bunch of cheaper guys that are viable. We've seen many slates like that before this season. I would not say that this is one of them. So that'll do it for this video. As always, first of all, thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Been lots of content here lately on YouTube, so we appreciate you watching if you have been watching all of them. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It is free to do so. It is a great mutually beneficial way to show support for the channel. We're getting close to 10,000 subscribers here, which is kind of crazy considering how long we've been doing this. But a quick way to show your support, subscribe. It is free to do so. Click the subscribe button. And again, not only does it help us reach this goal of 10,000 subscribers, it also helps you because you'll get notified immediately whenever we go live uploading new videos. YouTube will be quicker to recommend those videos to you when you go to youtube.com or open the YouTube app if you are subscribed to us. That way you get notified whenever these Showdown, Short Slate, or if you follow NBA, PGA, UFC, whatever it is, those videos will be readily available to you. Give us a thumbs up if you like this content and want to continue to see more of it. Any questions? If you have questions about the 3-gamer from yesterday, late swap questions, if you have questions about Buffalo-Pittsburgh, questions about this game, I'll happily answer them. I'll monitor the channel throughout the day, so drop a comment below here on the video. I'll get back to you. And if you have any questions, you want to drop your opinions, I know most of you love giving your opinions about the games, drop an opinion below. If you want in-depth conversations, you want to chat with other members of the OccupyFantasy.com community, chat with our staff, join our Discord server, occupyfantasy.com/Discord. That link is in the description below. Anything else? Yeah, so the daily plug. Yesterday's Sunday daily plug is already up on the site. That covers the 3-gamer on DraftKings and the 4-gamer on FanDuel. So for your classic slates or for the Buffalo-Pittsburgh Showdown, that is your best written piece of advice. That link I'll put in the description. And then for tonight's game that we covered in this video, that Showdown specific plug will be posted this afternoon with all the roadmaps on how to build lineups, rankings, lineup construction tips for various contests, everything you need, everything I covered in this video, plus more. So Brian Jester for Occupy Fantasy, thank you for listening as always, and good luck in the Bucks and Eagles Showdown slate.